Can you tell when you get a set of documents if this is going to be a good set or a bad set right away?
Yeah, everybody in the industry likes to complain about drawing quality and, oh, back in my day it was so much. And I get it, but we're all smart enough to still be successful and deliver projects on time and on budget with what we receive. I mean, it's not like construction has stopped because the quality of drawings isn't where everybody wants it to be. The things that I personally look for is making sure things are coordinated between civil and structural and architectural, making sure the MEPs are coordinated. If there's an RTU or a trash compactor or something that doesn't have a circuit, I mean, those are the sort of big ticket. I look for the big ticket items that, if it's not clear what I'm bidding on, it's going to move the needle a lot. It's going to change the number. That's usually what I look for. Responsibility matrices, if there's any owner furnished, contractor installed, or owner furnished, owner installed materials. I mean, I wish every job had a responsibility matrix, because then it's in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not guessing or excluding or setting allowances. It's in black and white. You're giving it to me, I'm installing it, and end of story. And the one other thing on the documents that I wish I could prove this. I wish I had enough data to prove this, but a good set of documents gets me a good set of bids and gets the client a good competitive number. Whenever the drawings are unclear, or there's missing specs, or the scope is not well defined, not only do I start seeing risk and start hedging that risk, so do all my subcontractors. And then the variance, the spread on the sub bids I receive could be much greater than if they're all, right in line, right and competitive, because they're all bidding the same thing and they know what they're bidding. So those are the things that I really look for in a set of documents, is just making sure everybody knows what they're bidding and what's on the documents will actually work once you build it. I've been up against a negotiated project where we're renovating some bathrooms, and the control estimate, the GMP estimate that I put together on these documents is just there's just so little information. I'm making so many assumptions, and all my subs are guessing at what they're actually doing. And down the road, once we get into construction, there's not enough space for a toilet. Like, it's a code violation. There's not enough distance from the side or from the front, and those sorts of things. I'm pleased to say we got through that project well and everything worked out, but it's stuff like that can really hurt a company or really hurt a client if you don't approach it with a problem solving mentality.
Yeah. And you never know what you're going to hit, too. I know I've had that toilet issue on projects before, and it's just based on as-built drawings I got, or I couldn't get access into a space to confirm it till we got a contractor on board to demo, and then you got to problem solve. But the estimating side, I know I've had a number of young professionals over the years. When we get bids back or we're opening with the client to review bids, they're like, what do you even look for? And I'm like, well, the first thing I look at is, let's look at the big number between everybody. Mm-hmm. And if everybody's pretty close, then I'm, at least first step, really happy, because that means I conveyed scope and my documents were at least clear in some manner. Even if I missed something, at least hopefully I missed it on everybody. But when it's really wide ranging, then it's like, oh my gosh, what's missing? And what did I do wrong in the documents to understand kind of where the holes are between the bids to try to make it understandable.
Yeah, and it's tough for us on our side too. If we lose a job because we included something that another GC didn't, that's a bummer for us too. It's just everything can work out. The low bidder can be correct and everybody can walk away happy. But it's in these situations where the scope isn't clear and there's miscommunication on. The analogy I like to use is, we're just building a very complicated sandwich. Making sure the client knows what they want on their sandwich. They don't want mayo, they want extra onions or pickle on the side, whatever. Making sure that the client to the architect, and then the architect to the documents, and then the documents to the bidders. I mean, keeping that as clean and clear as possible is super important.
Yeah. And then where does your effort start and stop? How does the pull in, we kind of talked about a little bit with CM versus the hard bid, but where do you guys transition if you get a project? Do you stay on board to get people up to speed on the project?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is pretty typical of most general contractors, at least ones that I've worked for, is, I send out estimates all the time. Maybe 1 in 10 I'll actually win. Whenever you actually win a job, then you get yourself prepared to transfer everything you know about the job to a project manager. Or some general contractors have a procurement department and they're in charge of buying out all the subcontracts. But it basically means, what did the client see? Show them that first, whatever clarifications and exclusions I wrote. And then, how did I get to the bid? All the sub numbers, all the self-perform numbers, the general conditions, the permit, the profit, everything. They get that sheet that tallies everything up. And then basically all of the backup, all the sub bids I received, all the yeses and nos of all the scope items I wrote in my scope sheets. It sometimes ends up being 60 to 100 page packet or binder that I hand off to the project manager. We do a page turn. I tell them hey, they never answered this. I set an allowance. Be aware that we have to resolve this, as soon as you feasibly can with the client to make sure they're getting what they want. But yeah, that's basically the handoff process. And the only thing I can recommend on the estimating side is just saving every bid you receive electronically. Just save it in a folder, make sure it's organized by division, by contractor. Again, a lot of the times in the chaos of bid day, you might be adjusting numbers here and there, pumping them up or cutting them. Make sure you have a clean place to play that game, because a week later when you get notified that you won the job, you're going to look back and, why did I subtract $10,000 from this number? Where did that come from? If you don't make a note of it or have it in an organized fashion, it just becomes, you just make your life a lot more difficult.
Yeah, moving way too fast in the last minute.
Yep.
Now, do the subs know if their number's in the bid on bid day, or is that more told to them if you guys win the project?
That is one of those informational asymmetries that, is where a lot of general contractors provide their value. I mean, the subcontractors are out to every GC, and they just want to be the low out of their competitors. So if we don't get a job, I will share feedback with subs. I'll be like, you were 3rd out of 5 bids. You were my highest bid. I don't mind sharing that information. Just like I would want a client to share that information with me. I want to know where my number landed compared to my competition. But if we have the notion that we are low or that we are receiving the job, sharing that information becomes a little bit more precarious, because that's an asset to the project manager or the procurement department. If they can say, oh man, all of these HVAC bids, they're right on top of each other. Can you help me out? You can't do that if I'm like, oh yeah, you're the low guy, I carried you on bid day. Mm-hmm. Then they're not going to cut their number to get any buyout savings. So, I mean, I personally try not to mess with buyout savings. It's just, you gave me your best number on bid day,
Yeah.
You did it. You won the game. Here you go. Just get to work. We have a job to finish. We're already behind. But again, that's just something that's in the industry. Everybody does it. Everybody's aware of it. And I've some subcontractors have told me, yeah, like I just put in extra money just so you can beat me down later. I mean, they're all aware of it.
Yeah.
They're not dumb. So it's sort of like a car dealership where it's like, oh, I have to pretend that I don't want to buy the car and walk out just so you can, pretend to give me a better deal. I'd rather just walk in and you tell me what's the price, just straight up. But
and then you can make a decision.
Preference of mine. Yeah, I mean that's a personal preference of mine. I try to be an open book and try and be honest in everything I do, but sometimes it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. How was the bidding process during COVID and all the changes in material prices and spikes? I know I had a call from a GC. Hey, I need you to review this submittal for copper because I had shielded rooms. And they're like, you better review it today because price is going up this weekend and it's going to be $1 million change order. And it's like, geez.
I'm really glad you brought that up because I had just started estimating, I think in like 2019. Mm-hmm. So I got comfortable with what I was doing. I was still learning, but I got pretty comfortable in 2019, and then 2020 hits, and nobody really knows what's going on. I think there was an inkling of the lumber market was like, this pandemic's gonna cause a recession, and we're not gonna be building, so we're gonna cut back wood production. Well, lo and behold, construction got deemed essential and everybody kept building. Like, I don't remember slowing down at all through the pandemic in terms of what we were bidding and what we were working on. So wood prices just go through the roof because there was just a disconnect there. But I have this notion that, everybody kind of has this notion that time is money. And, you can pay extra money to save time. Like, yeah, sure, you can work overtime. You can make up some time that way. Sure, you can hire more people and put more people on the job to get finished sooner. You can pay to quick ship. You can pay to expedite. COVID completely taught everybody a valuable lesson in how these things are only semi-exchangeable. Mm-hmm. You can't. There's a limit to how much money you can exchange for time. There's a limit to how much money you can exchange for labor or for material. Again, I think things have kind of stabilized, but certain items, I think like, a big HVAC equipment, generators, those things are still sometimes half a year to a year out. You can't pay to get it sooner. It's just not there. The manufacturing facility that's producing these pieces of equipment still owes 100 other people the piece of equipment in front of you. So I think prior to COVID, everybody was really kind of relying on square foot numbers are not changing that often. Mm-hmm. You can use these rules of thumb and can rely on them, and you submit a bid and then 2 months later the client says, hey, your number's looking good. We have the permit ready to get started. Is your number still good? Yeah, sure, let's go. Not anymore. In the heat of it, you would submit a number on Friday, and if a client called you back next week, you'd be like, I have to go reach out to all my subs. I have no idea what they're going to tell me. Steel could have gone up for no reason. Mm-hmm. And it was really tough to get through. I think there was a lot of creative ways around it to just, as soon as you get the contract, buy the material and warehouse it, because that's cheaper than running the risk of it going up. Another thing is, I've seen some people look at the wood futures, like futures on wood or futures on steel, to be like, okay, whenever this job is actually going to get built, these futures contracts are around here per board foot. So you build your estimate based on what what the market thinks the wood is going to cost
when you have to buy it.
Absolute craziness. Absolute. I mean, we all had to step our game up because it was just a more challenging environment than the environment we were in prior to the pandemic.
Yeah, like I designed my friend's house in 2019 and he was building it in 2020 and he got hit with 30% upcharge on wood.
Yikes.
Meanwhile, I got my deck done right before all the price hike and I was like, sorry.
Yeah.
But even like my husband was selling UPSs at the time of COVID and now he does switchgear, and just seeing the lead time, like if I've got a bigger project coming in on the design side that I don't even have a contractor for, I've gone over to him and be like, all right, what's your lead time right now on switchgear? I know that's only one manufacturer, but so many more things are in that long lead time category now. I couldn't get all my card readers on a project.
That's the scary part, is there's just some odds and ends that for whatever reason, it's like, oh, I didn't know mineral was a 6-month lead. Like, what? It's insulation. What's the big deal? Or there was something else recently. I remember tapered insulation and TPO at one point through the pandemic. It was like, you just can't get it. It's all gone. It's a year out, and what do you do? But yeah, it was just one of those things where everybody had to step their game up. All of our scope sheet has lead times. I mean, we still submit hard bid with preliminary schedules that say, hey, your schedule's not going to work. I mean, we're submitting the bid. Here's the number and here's the schedule. But, the equipment is 20 weeks and you want to be done in 22. It's just not. Sorry, it's not going to work out. And then on the CM side, I mean, if you do get in early with the design team and the client, it's way more cooperative and easy to mitigate those things, because everybody's aware and says, hey, if you need equipment, if you need an RTU, if you need a generator, if you need this switchgear on this project, let's design that first, release us now. We'll bid it out and release it early while we finish the rest of the design. The walls and the carpet, that's not the problem. The 52-week lead time on a 1,000 amp MDP is the problem.
Yeah, and if you can't get the building up and running and get it closed in, and then it doesn't work. But a lot of the times I'm seeing more of the multiple bid packages just to try to get ahead of it. But a lot of the times it's educating the owner, if they do want that hard design bid, to like, hey, we should probably bring on somebody early because you guys know what are those weird things that are hard to find. Like on any of my other projects, card readers and mineral wool have never been an issue. Thankfully, I was on a fit out project and didn't have much exterior work on it, but those aren't things that are top of mind for me. I'm used to the, air handling units, bigger electrical equipment, the obvious ones. So
yeah, everybody just has to have a heightened awareness because, again, the client, their time is money too. If they need to be open, renting out whatever or selling whatever they sell, I mean, liquidated damages are a real thing that nobody wants to deal with, but understanding those risks is, part of what we do here.
Yeah. Check out the full discussion from this bite of advice here. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on more mentorDINO content.